Hello, this is Story Impact, an interview series dedicated to authors, and I'm your host, Lisa Tolles. This series was started to give authors an opportunity to talk about their books, their craft, their artistic vision, and really the impact that they hope their books are making on readers. So we're going to be talking today about the power of stories, of course, but also about the meaning that these stories bring to our lives. I'm also a crime novelist, and you can find my books on Amazon and through other retailers. And to learn more, go to lisatolles.com. All right, so let's get started. Today, I'm excited to be talking with award-winning mystery writer Victoria Kazarian to talk about her writing path and her new book, Proof of Death. Let me tell you a little about her. Victoria is an award-winning writer, having won Central Coast Writers Association awards in 2014 and 2015 for her short stories. She's also a teacher and a homeschooling mom with a passion for making writing and literature come alive for students. I just love that. Victoria graduated from UC Davis with a BA in English. And as a published author, she has two mystery series, the Silicon Valley Murder Police Procedural Series and her Laughing Loaf Bakery Cozy Mystery Series. Her latest book, Proof of Death, is book 5 in that cozy series. And Victoria has said, I write characters with desires and flaws thrown into extraordinary circumstances. And she also says character arcs are my jam. So I want to talk more about all of that. Anyway, Victoria, welcome, and so glad you're here today.
I'm really glad to be here, Lisa.
All right, so let's start with your new book, Proof of Death. This is the 5th book in your cozy series. But first, can you identify for any watchers who aren't familiar with what a cozy is?
Yeah, that's actually kind of a misunderstood term. What they used to be was Agatha Christie, right? But Agatha Christie actually is not really a cozy, has not ever really been a cozy writer. She's a little bit more on the cynical side. She's got a little bit of gore in her books. And what a cozy nowadays is known as is sort of a pleasant escape. So there's no sex on screen, there's no gore on screen. They typically take place in a small, close community where there's kind of a good community feel. And I think that's probably one of the things that draws me to cozies.
Interesting. So with that in mind, tell me about your cozy series. Who's your protagonist? Where does it take place? And how are the books in the series kind of connected to each other?
Yeah. So my series, The Laughing Loaf Bakeries, is the protagonist is Gracie Markley, who is in witness protection. She's a former tech manager, actually, and she's been relocated with her physics professor father and her rascally dog from Seattle to the Santa Cruz Mountains after she turned in her kind of a scumbag ex-husband for selling defense secrets. And he was going to take her down with him. So she testified against him. And so now she's been relocated to this small town in the Santa Cruz Mountains in the Redwoods called River Grove. And Gracie starts a bakery. She decides she's done with tech, which I made that decision myself a few years ago. And she decides she really wants to bake bread. That's something her and her father did as she was growing up because when her mother passed away, it was kind of their comfort thing and their thing to do together. So she's in the Santa Cruz Mountains. She's trying to keep a low profile, witness protection, and boom, a uh, a male model shows up dead on her back steps of her bakery, and the model's older brother threatens to sue her. So to save her bakery, she has to figure out who killed Nico Behrens. So that's kind of the premise of that first book. So since then, Gracie's had a few adventures. Obviously, we all know that a lot of bodies show up in small towns, and that's a feature of cozies. And so that's happened repeatedly. And in this book 5, Gracie is she's really obsessed with this plan she has for starting to deliver goods from the bakery for Valentine's Day, for the whole week of Valentine's, to members of the community. It's kind of, people live up in the hills. It's a little tricky for them to get down. So she thought, hey, let's have some of these teenagers deliver goods. on Valentine's Day. So what happens is two of the deliverers, Cupids, they call him, find the body of Eddie Sumner, a WizKids software programmer, when they come to deliver a basket of goods for Valentine's Day. So it's up to Gracie, when she finds out that the chief suspect is her best friend's husband, that she wants to find out who really killed Eddie Sumner.
Mm.
So, and also when she drives, we all know I did it. When bakers get up early in the morning, it's dark. She drives right past Eddie's house and she sees, after his body has been taken away, there's somebody in the house and people are moving things around. And so she's curious, wants to save her best friend's husband. So she decides to investigate.
Mm. Wow, that sounds really intriguing. There's a lot going on there. So all right, I can't wait to read this book. And I love the idea that the series is based on a bakery. I'm just drawn to like mysteries that have to do with food. There are a couple series on Lifetime that I love, the Aurora Tea Garden mysteries and also Murder She Baked, and I just love
Yeah,
those. So yeah, you mentioned River Grove. I didn't know River Grove was a town. I
it's
actually
not.
wondered if it was a fictitious town. Oh, it is?
It's fake, yes. Um, yeah, it's basically Felton in
Oh,
the Santa
oh,
Cruz
okay.
Mountains, but I wanted to take some liberties with the location and how it's laid out and where people live in relation to downtown. So
Mhm.
I made it into its own town. Um,
I
but
love
it's, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love how small towns are kind of the hallmark of a cozy mystery. I mean, like you would think that like having something take place in a city has like, all kinds of other potential for like mayhem and crime. But I mean, the thing about a small town is that it's contained. Everybody knows everyone. I mean, you're really kind of under the microscope and you can't hide as much in a small town. Do you agree or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think if I think I did live in a small town when I was growing up for a time, but yeah, everybody knows everybody's business, which is another reason why Gracie, my protagonist, gets a little nervous because everybody finds everything out about you. You can't keep anything secret, and she's in witness protection. So that's one thing, that's one big challenge she's trying to deal with during her time in River Grove, is that people are going to find out the story that the federal witness protection gave her is not real. They don't know who she really is.
Right. And I just love that. I mean, she's got a secret that's following her around and eventually all secrets kind of bubble up to the surface and that's where all the trouble starts.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the Silicon Valley murder series, which is very different. That's a police procedural, right? Who's the protagonist of that series?
Well, my main protagonist is Detective James Ruiz, and he's a detective with a small, very upscale town in the peninsula area of the San Francisco Bay. So it's called Monteverde, another fictional town, which is basically it's Los Altos.
Oh,
But
okay.
um, I fictionalized it so that I can actually merge Los Altos Hills with Los Altos and kind of do things a little bit differently. But so there's Detective Ruiz, who's struggling with a really awful marriage. And his young rookie detective, who is Daniela Grasso. She comes from a big Italian family that runs a local grocery store chain, and she has bucked the family trend by not working for the family business, and her family's basically disowned her for that. So but she's always wanted to do this. And then the other character in this is Detective Mario Flores, who's actually with San Jose Homicide, a real town. And they all kind of mesh in the first book. They kind of get to know each other. It's kind of one night on this expressway that changes everybody, and kind of the things that fall out from that night and the murder that occurs on the expressway. And that's the very first book of Swift Horses Racing. It's Swift Horses Racing, which is the first book in Silicon Valley Murder.
And how many books do you have in this series so far?
So this series is just 3 books.
Okay. And is it done or do you have more that you're planning?
I definitely have more. I have the next book plotted out. I have some very loyal fans who really keep asking me to continue with the series. But right now, Laughing Lift Bakery is doing really well. So it's hard to find the time to actually get back to that series. But I've got my plan.
It's awesome. So thinking about both of these series, do you have a preference between police procedural series and the cozy series? And then also answer the question as a reader, when you go into a Barnes and Noble or a local bookstore, what's the first like shelf that you're looking at? Are you looking for cozies, or are you looking for kind of the um, edgier mysteries?
That's a really good question because it is really kind of like asking who's your favorite kid, because I started out writing Silicon Valley Murder, and in some sense, my heart is really in that type of book, in police procedurals. I absolutely love Tana French, if you read her books.
Uh,
Absolutely love her books and the Double Murder Squad. And that was a big inspiration for me to write Silicon Valley Murder. So that is still very much in my heart. But, I have to say that I truly see why people read cozies, because sometimes I just want something light, and I want something that's a good puzzle, but it's lighter and I don't have a lot of gore in it. So I will probably, depending on my mood, go for either bookshelf at Barnes and Noble. So
I'm the same way as a reader. I write thrillers and I read thrillers, and I love those. I love how they're like just complex and multi-layered, but sometimes there's just too much chaos in the world, and I want the ordered universe, the ordered kind of little microcosm of a cozy, because it just makes me feel good, and it gives me the illusion that the world makes sense during times that it just might not make any sense.
absolutely, I totally agree with that. In fact, I have a scene in Proof of Death where the whole town comes together, and Gracie comments, people that believe very different things politically are able to get together and enjoy each other and have conversations. And I don't know of anywhere else in the world where that's possible, is
Mm.
what she says. So that's kind of my little utopia in that sense. And I totally understand why cozies are
Yeah.
very comforting to read.
Well, another thing about the bakery too, talking about just kind of like the complexity of our world, the diversity, the universality of it, like regardless of like where you are, culturally or on topics, food is such a unifier. I mean, like food
Oh,
just kind
yeah.
of brings everyone together. So, I mean, there's that element of it too, like regardless of like where you are on any issue, everyone loves cupcakes, for example. Everyone loves, who doesn't love cakes? And so that's a commonality and a unifier, and I just love that about it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
All right, let's talk about your reflections on just a little bit more about like writing. What do you think non-writers don't understand about about either writers or the writing path?
Yeah, as soon as I saw that question, it's like, yes, the thing that people don't realize is how long it takes to get a book out. To write it, it's not just the writing, right? And you know this, right? It's like the editing, it's like the beta readers, it's the proofing that happens afterwards, and it's a long process, even if you are a fairly fast writer, and I'm a pretty fast writer, but it's just a long cycle that you have to go through. And I feel like my dad, who I would say is like my number one, he was always my number one fan. He passed away the year before last, but I would give him a book because he got his Kindle all loaded up, I'm going to read the books, and he loved that and he encouraged me. But he would finish one and he'd go, okay, where's the next one? You said you were writing a next one. It'll be next month, right?
Hurry up, you're not done yet?
I know. So it's just, I don't think people realize how long it takes. It
Yeah.
really does.
How long does it take you to write an average book?
It's different for the cozy and the police procedural. For the cozy, it takes me about a month and a half to actually do the writing. And then obviously then sending it off to my beta reader, well, my editor and my beta readers, and then the proofing. So yeah, that adds another month and a half actually. So as much time as it took me to write it.
I'm having a heart attack right now hearing that because my first drafts take like 6 or 7 months, and that's quick for me. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
I did write one book, the first draft in 5 weeks, but that's like outside of my normal process. Normally it's like, so your first draft is in a month. That, man, you are fast. That's amazing.
Well, I'm about a month and a half, so about 6 weeks. Yeah, I just tend to write when I focus on it. I can't pull myself away, which isn't great for making dinner and cleaning my house, but I just get really into it and I have to like
Mm.
follow it through. So,
Else. It's, the story wants to come out, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
someone's kind of knocking on a door saying, okay, we're ready now, like, and then we become the vessel. Well,
Yeah, yeah, sometimes it's hard being a vessel, but yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I mean, what an amazing thing that we're doing, because sometimes stuff comes to you, and if it's like you do too, but it's like stuff comes to me, it's like, where did that come from?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
where's this weird character that keeps barging into the story? I think I have to do something with him.
Well, yeah, that's the decision that happens, right? I mean, you can craft it in, like a sequential outline, and then, but sometimes it's just more of like a process of surrender. Like you're like, all right, already, yes, okay, yes. So now I'll go in this direction. Yeah, it's really kind of magical in a way. You talked about your dad, and I was going to ask, reflecting on your writing journey, who is the most significant person who either helped you get on track or stay on track? Have you had any periods in your life where you were like far away from writing and your dad or someone else kind of helped bring you back to, center?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I would say my dad overall from my life, like he just knew that when I was a kid, I loved to do it. So he would just keep asking me, "Hey, have you written anything? What are you doing lately? I haven't seen you write in a while," which,
Mm.
sometimes it was just annoying, but it was really encouraging. He just believed in me, and that was really clear. But I'd say apart from that, I've been a member of so many great writing groups, just people I've met different places, and we got together and formed a group. Sisters in Crime is amazing. I mean, you probably know that too. I feel so just incredibly blessed to be in Sisters in Crime, Coastal Cruisers, our chapter, because I've just gotten constant encouragement. Alec Pecky, just basically, she was the one that said, "Come on, just publish your book." And it was like, but I'm afraid maybe it's not very good, and it was so encouraging just to have people who can come alongside you and do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, that's where we met. Like
Oh,
Coastal
yeah.
Warriors. I'm a member of the Northern California chapter, but yeah,
Oh, NorCal's great too.
I love that organization, and the national organization and its chapters and Mystery Writers of America. And I too get so much out of that fellowship. It just makes you feel like this whole Herculean task that we have of writing a book and then bringing it, like to publishable standards, and then getting it out there and doing the marketing, that we don't have to like start from scratch. There are a lot of people who have done this before and can and do help us. So yeah, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that
It's
part.
wonderful. And I truly feel like when you're writing, you're kind of in a cave. And, my whole thing is I got to get out of the cave and talk to people. You know, I got to get out of the cave and connect with a write-in at Sisters in Crime, whether it's NorCal or Coastal Cruisers, just because I need to be around other people who are doing this.
Mm. All right, so let's think back to much earlier in your writing career and your writing journey. You're very experienced now. You're a successful novelist with 2 series that you're still continuing to push out. What's one thing that you would want the you back then to know?
Um, I think just to stop being afraid. I think that I just always thought, oh, what I put out there is not going to be good enough, or it's not ready yet. And one really good cure for that is to read some 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 traditionally published books that are getting a lot of attention that really aren't quite what people are saying they are, if that makes sense. There's just a lot of stuff out there that is popular, but not necessarily that good. And once I started reading some stuff, it's like, oh,
I can do this.
yeah. Am I worse than this? I think I could do this. I think I can do this. And that with encouragement from my writing groups is like, I
Mm.
had them basically sit around me once when I was sending out queries to agents, and they said, "You're going to send your query now." And I go, "No, I'm not ready. I'm not ready." And they just said, "Do it now." And of course, I got a rejection literally within 6 hours,
Mhm.
which was amazing. But it's just, you just have to do it. You just have to do it even if you're afraid. That's what most things in life are when you take a big step out of where you're at. You just have to be willing to do it with some fear.
Yeah.
It's fear isn't going to go away. You just have to do it. And then it's like, oh, okay, this isn't so scary.
Well, I think you're doing great. You're very successful, and I can't wait to read your latest book. Before we close up, let me ask you kind of a philosophical writing question. What do you feel like your purpose is as a writer? What's the one thing about writing that gets your hands on the keyboard every day?
Mm. Okay, it's funny because I actually wrote down an answer to this, but I think I'm going to have a different one just now that you say it. I feel like the a common thread in both series is you can get through hard things. Because my character in the cozy, fleeing her husband and turning him in for selling defense secrets, that's a hard thing to do. That's scary. But you can live through it and you can find another life, as she's found in this new town, right? And in Silicon Valley Murders, there's there's so many things that these people go through, whether it's for their own making, bad decision making, or other people's foibles or flaws that have impacted their life. But you can live through it, and you
Mm.
can become a stronger person and a better person in a lot of ways. And I think that's a kind of, if the deep philosophical thing that keeps me writing, it's that
Mm.
you can get through stuff to the other side.
Wow. Hashtag inspiration. All right, hold up your book title. Do you have Proof of Death, or do you have a book with you?
I have just a second, just a second.
Okay.
All right, here we go. This is Proof of Death.
A little bit higher. Higher, good. Uh-huh.
You can see it? Okay.
Yep, I can see it. That's great. All right, so please visit victoriakazarian.com to check out Victoria's books and her upcoming releases. And thank you so much for joining today, Victoria. I've loved our conversation, and I look forward to reading Proof of Death.
All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. This was so much fun.
Of course. Thanks for joining today, and let's keep those stories going.
All right.